What's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today. Of course, like an hour after I posted my video yesterday, they came out with a competitor list for the Prague Pro. And frankly, there's not really any surprises here, with the exception of maybe Andrea Presti. So in this lineup, you've got Sam Asher, Roman Begas, Pavel Baron, Andrea Balzani, Chris Bumstead, Mike Ciesla, Sean Clarita, Martin Fitzwater, Matthias Holwick, Mike Halusi, Mark Joyce, Simon Latta, Harry Lehner, Horse MD, Daniel Panidziak, Andrea Presti, Jack Richardson, Jan Turek, Christian Wolski, who was just top 5 at the Romania show, and Peter Zemjak. So even while there's not very many really big names here, you do have almost 20 competitors, so it's a pretty deep lineup in terms of numbers, which is good for the Chris Bumstead kind of experiment that we're watching here, because that means there's going to be a lot of different open physiques that Chris is going to be compared to. So there's opportunity for Chris to beat 20 guys, but also to lose to 20 guys. So you could see, is Chris going to be top 3? Is Chris going to be top 6? Could Chris be out of the top 10? Could Chris be tied for last? 16th place, I believe, is what they consider last. Which I think makes it more interesting, because you're going to have a lot more different comparison points for a classic physique like Chris's to all these open guys. Granted, I haven't heard of a lot of these guys. And like I said, there's about 5 or 6 guys, including Chris, in this lineup that I think are really good. I would say Chris, Sean Clarita, Andrea Presti, Christian Wolski put in there, Horse MD put in there, and then, of course, Martin. So those are about 6 guys that'll probably, I would think, would be your top 6. So you've got Christian Wolski, who was 5th last weekend in Romania. You've got Horse MD, who was 4th last weekend in Romania. I would assume they would also be able to crack the top 6 here. I think Andrea Presti will probably be top 6, so those will probably be, in no particular order, 4, 5, and 6, Andrea, Horse, Christian. And I would speculate that your top 3, again, in no particular order, would include Martin, Sean Clarita, and Chris Bumstead. But there's a really interesting twist that could be added to this. So today, after the competitor list came out, Kalecinski posted a video where he appears to still be in really good condition, and it just simply had the caption, "What if?" and he tags the Prague Pro, kind of alluding to the possibility of him competing there. Now, I don't know how strict they really are with these rules, but they typically post the competitor list for a show after the registration deadline, so the deadline for the athletes to commit to competing. And I'm sure that special exceptions are made, and probably would be made if wants to compete, because is going to be in Prague. He won the Prague Pro in the Classic Physique division, so he's a Prague Pro champion technically. But also, the Prague Pro had already confirmed weeks ago to be a special guest at the show. Now, they don't really specify in that post what they mean by special guest. Is he going to be doing a guest posing? Is he going to be just there at a booth, signing autographs, whatever? They don't really specify that. But they also don't say he's going to be competing. They just say special guest. So it's not that far-fetched to think that might compete in Open. You've got Chris Bumstead doing the show. Obviously, and Chris have their own rivalry. Will already be in Prague. And if this video in this post is recent, he looks like he's in really good shape. And also, strikes me as a guy that likes to have fun. I could totally see him jumping in this Open show just for fun, last-minute decision to do it one more time with Chris. And like I said, if they do make an exception for which I think they probably will, since, like I said, the list typically comes out after the deadline to register, even though you don't see Ramon's name on that list, I still don't think it's impossible that you see Ramon do this Prague show. I think especially if Urs comes out and says he's doing it, maybe we see... I mean, could you guys imagine Urs, Ramon, and Chris all doing just a random open show, kind of unplanned? And I suppose there's a possibility that Urs did register, looking at that special guest post that they put on the Prague Pro Instagram page. I guess there's a chance that he did register, and by special guest, maybe he's going to be, a surprise addition to the lineup. But I really think they would have put it on the list, because that competitor list is essentially how they advertise the show, and they really only have a week, less than a week, prior to the show to do that, to advertise the full lineup selling tickets. They've really only advertised so far, in the weeks leading up to Prague. I think only Chris, Martin, and Horst have been the main three guys that they've been teasing they said we're going to compete for weeks and months ahead of the show. So if Urs did register, I would think they would have put him on that competitor list so they had as much time to advertise Urs is doing our show too as possible. Now, I also want to point out Neckzilla, not on that competitor list. This is another show that he said he was going to do, and he is apparently not doing. I don't know why he continues to do this, but I'm not going to go on too long about Neckzilla. I think you guys get the point, and I think most of you guys agree. It's just kind of ridiculous at this point. And we already knew that Akim wasn't going to be doing Prague, because he said that right before Romania in his comment section. But because he did lose the Romania show, Akim put up a post today saying that he's going to be doing the Spain show, which is the show that's the 1st of December, and that will be the last open bodybuilding show of 2024, assuming Akim just really wants to get that Olympia qualification before the end of the year and have the whole year to focus just on prepping for the Olympia. And I would assume you're probably going to see a lot of these guys that haven't won a show yet but have entered the last couple of shows. A lot of these guys will probably jump in that Spain show because, like I said, it is the last opportunity of 2024 to qualify early for the 2025 Mr. Olympia. So probably all these guys that have already been competing, they're already prepping, they're already in shape. I think you'll probably see a lot of people jump in that last show of the year. And I believe Horse MD has also already committed to doing that show as well. He committed to doing all three, Romania, Prague, and Spain. But back to Urs for a second. Urs, if you're watching, I really hope you do this show in open. I think it would be fun. I think it would be exciting. And if you guys are fans of Urs watching this video, leave a comment below about why, or just whether or not you want to see Urs do the show. And if you do, why? I'm assuming a special registration could be made, a special exception could be made if Urs wanted to register at the last minute. So I think this is probably something that definitely could happen if they want to make it happen, especially considering the fact he's a Prague Pro champion and he's already in Prague. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Now, the final story that I've got for you guys today, we've got the first recent physique update of Ruff Diesel, Terrence Ruffin, that we've seen in a very long time. Now, Terrence sat out this year's Mr. Olympia, but this is the first update that we've seen, and according to him, this is the heaviest he's ever been, the first time he's ever been this heavy, around 212 pounds here. For the first time I've ever gotten this heavy. I won't lie, it's a bit uncomfortable, but that's definitely a good thing. Honestly excited to get back on stage and compete a couple times next year. So because he sat out the Olympia this year, Ruff will have to go re-qualify for next year's Olympia. He is not currently qualified for the 2025 Mr. Olympia, but I think this update is interesting because of the fact that next year will be the first Olympia with the absence of Chris Bumstead, and it will be the first year since Chris's Olympia reign. There will 100% be a new classic physique Mr. Olympia champion, and Terrence is back in the mix for that. And keep in mind, Terrence and Chris had their own 1 and 2 rivalry before it was Ramon Dino. So Terrence was a guy that was in that conversation to be next in line behind Chris. And now this year you had Mike Sommerfeld right behind Chris. You had Ramon last year and the year before that. Who knows if Breon, I'm assuming Breon will probably stick around for the first Olympia that Chris is not at. So you're going to have all these guys that had their rivalry with Chris back next year. And again, that's kind of putting the cart before the horse a little bit because that's just assuming that Terrence will qualify for the Olympia and get there. I have a feeling that's not going to be a problem for him. I think he will qualify, win a show, get to the Olympia, but kind of putting the cart before the horse, just assuming he'll be there, but I think he will. And that's a rare scenario to have, is that when you have a Mr. Olympia champ that's been reigning for so long, then the year that he retires, the year following, I should say, all of his main rivals will be at that Olympia competing to be the next guy. All the guys that took second to Chris, theoretically, will be there next year. Breon, Urs, Ramon, and now Mike. And I guess I lied. That's not going to be the final story, because there is one more update of Martin Fitzwater that would make this the most recent update of Martin. And because I believe Martin is the favorite to win this show, we've got to constantly show the most recent updates from him. So I'll take this final story here as an opportunity to give, I guess, my predictions for the Prague Pro, even though I kind of did earlier. But I'm going to give Martin Fitzwater first. I'm going to give a very optimistic prediction for Chris Bumstead. I think second place is a very optimistic prediction for Chris. I know there's a lot of people that still expect Chris to win, even though he's just doing this for fun, and it seems like it would probably be unlikely for him to win. I think second is optimistic, but I think would be a really good placing for Chris. I think Sean Clarita will probably be able to take a top 3 spot. I have Sean Clarita in third. I'm going to say either Horse MD or Andrea Presti for fourth. So I'll say Andrea in fourth. Andrea had a pretty good year this year. He displayed some pretty good looks. So I'm going to say Andrea in fourth, Horse in fifth, and I'm going to say Christian Wolski in sixth. And even though that I feel second place is an optimistic prediction for Chris, I would be very, very surprised, even with Chris doing this for fun, having a very limited amount of time to prepare for the transition to Open, all these things that we've talked ad nauseum about. I would be very surprised if Chris didn't crack the top 3, and I would really be shocked if Chris doesn't make the top 6 here. But I guess that's kind of the interesting part about this crossover, is we don't know what's going to happen. We've got this image of Chris in our minds as just like the GOAT of classic physique, but we don't know how that's going to translate to men's open bodybuilding. So, Chris could win this show. He could be top 3. He could be top 6. He could be dead last. He could be outside of the top 10. I think the excitement of this show is the fact that we have no idea what's going to happen here with Chris, because classic physique is judged differently than men's open bodybuilding. I think it's judged the most differently aside from men's physique. But anyway, let me know your guys' predictions in the comments down below for this weekend's Prague Pro. I think it's going to be an exciting show, and I will see you guys in all the future videos covering that show. So thank you guys for watching. As always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Nick Strength and Power, signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at NickStrengthPower, my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.